The Rebel Capitalist Show. I look at investing in 5 years, 10 years plus. So for me, I'm really curious as to what the price of oil is doing, not necessarily in the next 2 weeks or the next 2 months, but the next 10 years. So what are your thoughts there?
Right. Excellent question. And the answer is beats me. I mean, who knows the answers to those questions? But I'll speculate because that's what we're here to do. It's clear to me that the 2018 was probably I'd be shocked if we get back to oil production levels that we saw in the third, fourth quarter of 2018. And I would be equally surprised if the economy of the United States or the world gets back to those levels. So, there are a lot of arguments that people make. Well, we're not investing in oil infrastructure. It's all about the present. And gee, all these shale wells, they decline like, gangbusters, and that's going to come back and bite us in the ass. And yeah, all that's true. All that's absolutely true. But the other thing that's true is, yeah, man, but we got way too much oil.
Right, right.
And without getting into why that is, let me say that somewhere out there in your time horizon of 5 or 10 years, there probably will not be as much oil. There probably won't be too much oil. Let's put it that way. And if that's the case, then the price will go up. And if the price goes up, even in a reasonably sound economy, that's difficult for the average person to make money. In a fragile economy, that can be disastrous. So the long-term picture, well, it's even the short-term picture. I mean, if somebody asked me where the price of oil is going to go in the next 6 months or a year, I would say it's got only one place to go, and that's up. Now, sentiment and all sorts of other factors are going to create, proverbial bumps in the road. I mean, it's not going to be a straight line. And while we're talking about it, I would be surprised if oil doesn't go back to sub $20 levels or even down to $10 at some point when people get really bummed out about how crappy the economy is. I mean, that's,
Right.
We are humans. We have moods and market sentiment, and the price discovery that goes along with it is going to reflect that. But I started out a while ago saying that the oil is underpriced by $20 roughly right now. Okay, so if that's the truth, then it's got to go up. It's got to go up. Now,
But it
how
still
high?
doesn't have to go up to 75.
Oh no, I mean, I think the correct price of oil, if there is such a thing, based on comparative inventory, it's about $40 for WTI and about $45 for Brent. That is the balance between comparative inventory and price. And and what I see there, if you look at these yield curves, the curvature of the yield curve, and again, for those of you that can't picture it, I mean, if you're looking at bonds, you can imagine that if that yield curve is curved, then that means that a little bit of a change in something like interest rate can make a big change in the value at the end of the cycle. If it's pretty flat, then basically it doesn't matter. That it's a safe investment. You're not going to lose any money, but you're probably not going to make any either. And where we are with oil right now is we're on a super flat yield curve. And so people say, gee, why did price go down so fast and so far? I mean, farther than it's ever been in any kind of recent historical time, because the yield curve got flattened. And so, you can pile up a mountain of storage beyond what we have today, and the price doesn't go down hardly at all. Or you can draw down a whole bunch of storage, And you go to the other side of the curve and the price doesn't go up very much because the yield curve is flat. So the point is that once we reach that yield curve, so there's a big potential over the next year and a half or two that if you go long on oil, that you will win. And if you look at the stock prices of the any of the major oil companies or major independents, Chevron, Exxon, Conoco, Diamondback, Concho, you name your EOG, those companies' share price have appreciated, something like 35% since a month ago. Mm. Because oil prices have gone up. I mean, it's not rocket science that the price of a share price of an oil company has a very good correlation to the price of oil.
Right.
So that's something to think about. Longer term, as I've said, I mean, in any scenario, we hear a lot about peak demand and all this kind of what I consider to be sort of silly conversations in the hot tub at the Esalen Institute or something like that. I mean, it's like, really, guys? I mean, who cares? But okay, that's a topic. All right. But the reality is that it's not about demand. It's not about supply. Inventory is in the middle, but really it's about energy and how that interacts with the economy and all those little pieces. Well, let's stop talking about oil. Let's talk about football. Oh, okay. Let's shift gears. Well, you can do that on a matter of personal interest, but you can't do that about oil, really. We can stop talking about it, but, the football game season ain't going to happen because the economy sucks and there's a virus and a lot of other things like that. So the problem with oil is that everything depends on it. So the future of oil price is good. The future of oil cost is not good because it already has increased and we've squandered a tremendous amount of oil at terrible prices. We've basically dumped billions of barrels of oil produced from shale onto a market that wasn't willing to pay us what it cost us.
Yeah, future supply.
Exactly. And so when we actually need the stuff, then the best stuff is going to, it's already been picked. And so what's left is going to cost even more to extract. So, you want to be long on oil. Long on oil is a good bet, but be careful how you choose to go at it. So if you invest in an oil company that won't exist in 6 months, you need to think about that. You want to put some money in Chevron, that's probably safe. But I think that many, Scott Sheffield, who is not exactly my mentor, but sometimes he says the right thing. He's the CEO of Pioneer Resources. He says there's only going to be 10 independents left by the end of 2020, 2021. And that's because these are companies that have huge debt, billions and billions of dollars. All or most of their production is either now shut in or is going to be shut in. So they have no revenue.
Right.
They have no means to pay their debt. They have no means to pay the interest. And that interest for some of those guys is, like $2 or $3 a barrel. And so if they can't pay their debt, then they got to go bankrupt at some point. And so in a normal scenario, you'd say, well, okay, that's too bad for XYZ company, but somebody else will buy them because it's a bargain. Well, not in this environment, because Shell has cut its dividend. Chevron, Exxon, BP are going to pay their dividends for now. They're being criticized by a lot of analysts for doing that because they don't have the money. Right. And so an Exxon or a Chevron announces, oh, well, we're going to go out and, buy XYZ, crappy independent oil company at pennies on the dollar. Oh, by the way, we're going to take their $5 billion or $10 billion in debt
Right.
along the way. And, first of all, they don't have the money to do it. And the shareholders are going to go berserko.
Yeah.
We don't need any more oil, guys. And you don't have the money to buy somebody else's crappy balance sheet. So I don't think that's going to happen. I may be wrong. I
You
am.
think the government is going to bail out the crappy balance sheet?
How are they going to bail them out? Give them money? No, they're going to become the property of the government. Just like General Motors effectively, de facto, was owned by the United States government in 2009.